YouTube? Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if this is your first time. This is my channel Pixie Dust and Spirit Alchemy, where we talk about all sorts of things: taboo, spiritual, magical, mystical, strange, whatever we feel like talking about, honestly. Guys, today's video is gonna be like a real talk video. Just kidding. Not really. Not that my others aren't real talk. I know a lot of YouTubers do this, where they like to talk about energy updates and just how everyone is feeling at this time. And so that's kind of what this video is going to be about. It's also going to be about a spiritual awakening. What is a spiritual awakening? And I know you can go online and like Google what a spiritual awakening is. Honestly, when I went through my first spiritual awakening, I feel like there wasn't anything online. But whatever, regardless, I digress. I'm going to share my experience of what I went through during my first spiritual awakening, or just the process of any spiritual awakening. Because I feel like a lot of people are going through a transformation of sorts, or really there is an energy of transformation surrounding a lot of people. And it's up to the person, to the individual, to choose whether or not to align with this transformative energy or to resist it. So I'll get into how you know which one you're currently doing, and also how you know you're in a spiritual awakening, what the signs are, what it is. So let's get started. So what is a spiritual awakening? Essentially, it's a shift. And it can be defined, I guess, as an expansion, growth. There's a lot of things that can happen in a spiritual awakening, right? And I like to think of it as a progressive shift to viewing life through a new lens. Sorry, Bella's eating in the background, so if you hear like a noise, it's my cat. So shift to a new lens. And what triggers this awakening? All sorts of things ultimately can trigger a spiritual awakening. It can be discomfort or suffering caused from a certain event. It could be trauma. It could be just a big life change. It could be strong emotions, falling in love for the first time. It could be a number of things. A number of things that make somebody begin to question their own authenticity, perhaps. You begin to question everything. I began to question everything. I remember what triggered it is, for me, it was just a serious feeling of not belonging, of feeling alone, and strong emotions that I had at the time for someone that led to it, just the rejection, the abandonment, all that. So it can be a number of things. And it led me to a sort of journey of self-discovery, of who I am. And we go through life, and we don't just have one spiritual awakening. There's not a limit, I don't think. It's as many as we are open to allowing to happen in our life, and as many as we are willing to align with in order to transform essentially into our full authenticity. There's a lot of self-reflection that happens, and contemplation and introspection that I found in spiritual awakenings. Wondering who am I? And we begin to learn more about ourselves by seeing who it is that we relate to, what it is that we relate to, what catches our interest. While I began to question everything, I found a growing interest. It was at this time in the beginning that I began to move away from the Christian dogma that I had grown up with, which I've talked about this a little bit before in videos. And I began to gain an interest in spiritual topics, such as astrology. Astrology was a big component in my first spiritual awakening. And I began to feel a connection to spirit. I began to feel my soul, my spirit within me. at a deeper level than I had ever felt it before. I began seeing repeating numbers everywhere. I began signs, even things such as street signs, would stand out to me, and I would look into it with great depth as it having some meaning applying to my life depending on what the sign was, what the street sign was. Symbols were everywhere, and it was all in an introspective way. It was all in search of my identity, of who I truly am, because during each spiritual awakening, what's happening, what I have found to happen, is it's a layer of myself, perhaps a layer that is not actually me, but one that I was conditioned and had grown up in based on other outside beliefs, one that's not authentic. These inauthentic layers are being peeled off as we search and grow for the truth within us. And the more introspective I would go, the more I would begin to see on the outside signs, symbols. The more I would meet people along my path that would teach me things. And how do we know if we are open, if we are allowing this transformation to take place, or if we are resistant to it? We can tell if we are resistant to it because we begin to mock spirituality. We begin to see things and think they're silly or be judgmental towards them. We have this disdain, this disconnect, this almost like repelling feeling from something, even if there's an underlying feeling of attraction, because we know it's something we need, but we're judging it because we're not quite ready. I mean, we can shut off our receptivity just as easily as we can turn it on. There is a resentment that grows within us if we are not in alignment with this spiritual transformation, because we know that something is energetically happening on the outside. And our inner self is urging us to go with it, but it's our ego that stands in the way, that tries to tell us not to change, that, oh, that's not real, that's fake, don't listen to that, you're crazy. How many times, raise your hand if you felt crazy during a spiritual awakening. I don't raise my hands high. I felt insane. I'll admit it. I'm not ashamed. Felt fucking nuts in a spiritual awakening. Multiple times, more than once. And yet, I came out on the other side with a deeper understanding of life, a deeper realization of seeing the interconnectedness of everything and feeling the oneness of everything within myself. There was a deeper appreciation and a deeper love instilled in me for the world, because I began to see myself in everything and how everything was connected. And not in a conceited way, but in a humbling way, seeing everyone as equal, seeing everyone as energy. And with each spiritual awakening that's taken place, this has deepened in the amount of clarity. The universe will set up exactly what we need for a transformation. And it is up to us whether or not we're open to seeing it. If we try to remain in control, that is another example of being resistant to a spiritual awakening. If we try to cling on to old patterns, old beliefs, things that no longer serve us, in the process of feeling this oneness, in the process of seeing this interconnectedness, it opens our heart. I began to feel deeper. I began to love deeper. I began to see beauty in everything, and integrated these new beliefs, these new thoughts, these new ideas into this new lens. And through this lens, it provided a clearer vision, a clearer knowing, a clearer sight, just more clarity to my own personal authenticity. So now why am I making this video? What am I talking about here? Because I feel like at this time I personally have been going through another spiritual awakening. I've had a lot of life changes going on recently. Big life changes. There's been a lot of feelings that I've been feeling, and learning to feel them fully rather than masking them, rather than running from them, rather than denying them. Learning to love myself in the process and be my own friend, be nice to myself. With each spiritual awakening that I can say has taken place in my life, there's something that adds each time. You know, it's the next step to getting to our higher self, and who knows, maybe we just keep going until we're like the ultimate highest self. I don't know, I'm not there yet. But I know I'm not alone when I talk about this energy, because I've heard it from some other friends of mine, some feeling it more than others, and even in some polls that I've taken on YouTube with my subscribers. I know some people mentioned that they weren't feeling too well when I did a recent poll around the eclipse asking how everybody was feeling, the lunar eclipse. Myself personally, I've been feeling like the hardened layer, cocoon or shell of the old me is still like hovering over me, but it's cracked open, and my new like form self, I'm sorry for all these hand motions, my new self is here underneath, but I'm like tiptoeing out, like peeking out, like through my old self, like, okay, how do I do this? I feel these old beliefs, these old parts of me being stripped away, but I don't yet know how to step into confidently and truly into this new level of beingness. And it's scary. And what happens is a lot of the time I want to go back into my cocoon and not metamorphosize yet, if that's a word, not transform yet, because the cocoon is comfortable. The cocoon is safe. The cocoon is familiar, even if the cocoon is no longer good for me, even if I've outgrown the cocoon. I don't know what lies outside of this cocoon, of this nest that I've essentially been in for a certain amount of time. I don't know, and that's scary. But that's also where I need to go. And if I try to control it, a couple things happen. I usually resort back to old habits that I'm trying to outgrow, that no longer feel aligned, get myself into situations that just don't resonate. Like, I don't want to be there. And I feel upset at myself for putting myself back in this situation that I don't want to be in, because I was trying to control the outcome. And so I personally have had to do so much surrendering, so much letting go of expectation, of thoughts, beliefs, letting go of the ideas in my head of how I thought life was going to be at this time, or how I think life is going to be in a year, 5 years, letting go of everything. And allowing myself to be receptive and put to use the way I know that my higher self, the way I know that source energy, the way I know God, the universe, wants me to be. I mean, I don't know how it wants me to be, but I don't know how. I know it's better than what I have planned for myself. Stepping into this transformation is ultimately the path of least resistance. Because when we try to go back into something that we've outgrown, it no longer fits. It no longer resonates. We're going to be met with obstacles. We're going to be met with a dissonance. We're going to be met with discomfort. We're going to be met with challenges. We're going to be met with tests until we get so uncomfortable that we're willing to just give up and say, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. I let go. Let go and let God. You know, I'm not trying to get religious here or anything, you know. I personally believe in a higher power that I sometimes call God. Not the same God that I grew up with, you know, might not be the God that I believe in 10 years. But it's a source energy, it's the all, it's the oneness, it's love. And I won't go on like too much of a tangent, but I wanted to make this video. I felt called to make this video because I feel like maybe some other people can relate. Because I just know a lot of people lately have been questioning like what on earth it means to be human. Like, what are we doing here with all the craziness going on in the world? Like, what are we doing here? What is our purpose? And that's another thing in spiritual awakenings. It gets us closer to our purpose, more realizations and insights about who we are and what we are meant to do. Because everybody has a purpose. Everybody. No matter how great or small it is all equal. We are all equals. And right now, I choose, personally, the path of least resistance. Because I have the desire to grow and transform and be of service, how I can be of service. I have the desire to come out of the cocoon, so to speak. To spread love, to help the world how I can. Because if you look around, what is going on? What is it to be a human? What the fuck is a credit score? I know I see memes about that, but like honestly, what? I get emails about your FICO credit score has been updated, and I'm like, okay, like, why does this like, what is this? Why does this matter? Why does this have so much weight in the ultimate reality of life? Like, fuck off with the credit score. A mortgage? What? I mean, I don't have a mortgage right now, but, you know, like, just all these little things that we put so much weight in and so much importance, and realistically, like, that's the least important of things at this time. The focus is always on our, like, inner transformation and self-love. Do whatever it takes to love yourself. Because the more that we love ourselves, the more that we can heal these wounds, the more that we can grow and transform, and the more that we are receptive to who we're meant to become, the more we can love others, the more we can expand and be of service to others. And through these spiritual awakenings and through this discovery of oneness in the world, if you think about that, and you think about what's going on in the world right now, the war, is that a reflection of something going on inside of ourselves? Is that a reflection of the collection of humanity, the collective consciousness? What came first? So maybe if we fight those battles, we can win the outside war. And by win, I don't mean one side winning, beating the other, or whatever. I mean a ceasing of all genocide, of all evil, of all hate. Because what the world needs now, more than anything, I mean, it's probably always been the case, but especially, like, I really just feel called to make this video of this message to spread love, you guys. Like, it's so easy to say hello to somebody on the street. I mean, I just moved from Texas to another state up north, and, you know, I didn't realize, I guess, how friendly Texans were compared to some other states, because, you know, you walk down the street in Texas and everybody says hello. I walk down the street here and people will literally look away from me. Like, or they'll look at me and then look away. Or just, and sometimes I'll say hello, and whether or not they say hi back, but I'm always looking at, not staring at them, but, ready to say hello. And it's like, can we not act so disconnected? I mean, I'm not going to, talk to you. I'm not going to make a conversation. I just am just smiling at a stranger. Make a stranger's day. I know I feel better when a stranger smiles at me. So for those going through their own spiritual awakening now, keep going. Because the only way out is through. If you are inside a cocoon right now, transforming, going through your metamorphosis, keep going. Be gentle with yourself. But also, try not to resist. I mean, if you choose to resist, then that's fine. That's on you, But I promise you that it will happen again. The same sort of drive, same sort of impulse to transform, to grow, to break out of these old beliefs and stuff. It will come again. It'll come again. I know I've talked about ego death. I'll close with this. I know I've talked about ego death sometimes in some videos. And ultimately, within a spiritual awakening, it's a dying to self. Right? Dying pieces of who we thought we were that aren't actually us, that no longer serve us. And not sending them in the trash, not throwing them away, loving them. But acknowledging the role that they've had in making us who we are, and then putting them over there and loving them from a distance. So that's really all I have today. There's been a lot of strong energy going on this month. I mean October, it's November right now, but this month too. I mean, it's been continuing. I will get back to more videos of Gallery of Magic stuff. I do have plans coming up. But just with my own energy in the last few days, I felt I needed to make this video. And I hope it helps somebody maybe not feel so crazy or alone. Because we're never alone, right? If we're all connected, then everybody's going through something, whether they talk about it or not. So keep that in mind. And remember to love yourself. Because I love you. Alright, guys. Thanks for listening if you've made it this far. And until next time, peace.